Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be putting together the list of books that I'm planning to read in March. As usual, I will be using my TBR machine website that I made that spits out random reading prompts to pick some prompts. I did actually last month already pick the ones for this prompt, and we will in this video pick the ones for next month, just so I get a month to prepare. And if you also want to follow along with the challenge, you can. As well, there's one book in February for this challenge that I don't think I'm going to get to. So that is Dragon's Fire by Anne McCaffrey and Todd McCaffrey. Actually, I think in my last video I said that I could either read this or Dragon's Blood. They're the next two books in this Dragons of Pern series that I need to read. This one is the 19th in the series, and I think the other one's the 18th. But it doesn't always matter which order you read these books in, because the series is such a long one and it kind of jumps around in time. But the prompt that I was reading this for is to read from an author who is deceased. And Anne McCaffrey is deceased, but Todd McCaffrey is not. Dragon's Blood, that I thought I was going to read next, is by Todd McCaffrey. Let's not count him as deceased yet, shall we? That's not a very nice thing to do. He's still well and alive, I assume well, because he just put out another book, actually. Anyway, the Dragons of Pern series is all about this world where regularly this other planet comes close by and it causes this thread to fall from the sky and it destroys anything it touches. However, this society has dragons who are able to fly by and burn it out of the sky before it can do any harm. Unfortunately, this only happens quite rarely, every few hundred years, but sometimes it can be a really long time, sometimes it can be a really short time. And in those gaps, people often forget about how important dragons are to their continued survival. So I probably won't get to this in February, but I will try and keep going with it in March. Then let's talk about the three prompts that I do have for March and that hopefully I'll actually get to in March. The first one was to read a sad book. For this, no way, I'm not going to continue the Fool and the Fit series. This is the last trilogy in the Realm of the Elderlings, which is a series by Robin Hobb that I've been absolutely loving. Every second trilogy is about Fitz, who in the first trilogy was a young boy, the bastard son of the king in waiting, and they trained him up as an assassin to make him useful to the family. The royal family also has this magical ability to read minds and influence other people, and there's all sorts of other magical elements to the world as well, including dragons and prophecies and people having the ability to talk to animals. I read the first book. It was kind of slow, but also I love the characters so much that I just enjoyed spending time with them. And also, I say it was slow, but some stuff really happened. And right at the end, things kind of turned to shit. And the second book I know is going to be really traumatic. I think basically our main character Fitz has been put in charge of some younger people, and now some of them are in danger. So I think if you are sensitive at all to horrible things happening to children, this probably is not going to be a book that you would want to pick up. But what I love about Robin Hobb books is I love having my heart broken. Also, I do have faith that she won't completely do something horrible to these children. I hope I'm not wrong with that. But also, I totally expect to cry during this, so it definitely counts as a sad book. Then, the next prompt that we had was to read a book that was published 10 or more years ago. After that, we're going to have a book which is going to be the main physical book that I read for the month. Mostly I'm going to try and make most of the other books I'm reading next month audiobooks. I don't know how that's going to work out, but what I want to read is Child of Flame. Now, I had said that this is a really dense, thick fantasy series that I really enjoy, but I do struggle to get through it. So I was going to wait until I finished my job up. My contract is hopefully ending at the end of March, and I thought then I'll have a lot more brain power to approach this. However, I remembered that this was my last character book for the Magical Readathon that's hosted by Book Roast, and technically I need to read that by April. So I should finish this. I have read, I think the first 200 pages, but I still got 600 and something pages to go, and it's a massive book, right? The pages are very long. There's a lot of words. This will probably take me the whole month to get through, because I worked out I still need to read something like 25 pages a day in order to finish this in a month. And I think that's actually going to be a challenge. So I guess that's the challenge that I'm setting myself for the month. Then the last challenge that I have from the TBR machine is to read an audiobook. This is super easy, but I did want to make it one of the ones on this shelf, even though I try not to read the books that I have physically via audiobook, but also there's a lot of books for me to get through, and sometimes you just have to, okay? So what I am going to do is start the Skullduggery Pleasant series by, this is not the first book. Oh, this is the first book. I bought all of these at a secondhand book fair. These ones, I wanted them because they had sprayed edges. But the first one doesn't have sprayed edges. But this is, I'm not sure if it's a middle grade or a YA series. I think maybe it starts more middle grade and then gets more YA as it goes along. I think there's a lot of books in this series. Maybe the latest number that I kind of remember is 14 books. Anyway, there was a hold list on the first book, but it has just come through on audiobook, so I'm going to listen to it. I've heard a lot of people say that the audiobooks are really good, so hopefully that's a good way to approach this series. And hopefully I'll love it so that I'll be happy to own these books. But also, I got them cheap at a book fair, so it kind of doesn't matter. So then, before I get into talking about all the other audiobook library books that I have, I do want to pick the prompts for April. So, first prompt is going to be read a book with a one-word title. Okay, I have a couple on my shelf, so that's a totally doable prompt. Then the second prompt is going to be read a book in a series you have started but not finished. That's my reading goal for the year. That's perfect. But also, I mean, I'll definitely do it. I just don't know where I'll be at with series by the end of March, but I'll work it out. Totally doable though. And then the last prompt will be read a book by an author with the same initials as you. Oh no, it's read a book by an author with the same last initial as you. That's much more doable because I think I've looked for authors with the initials PG before and couldn't find any I liked, but just the last initial, so I just need to find an author with a G surname. I don't actually think there's any on my shelves, but I'm sure I can find one. I'm sure I can. So I'll put up here the 3 reading prompts that we're going to try for April. If you want to join in, then please do. If you want to leave me some suggestions for books that I could read for those prompts, then also do that. It would be a lot of help. Oh, and actually another one, there is a magical readathon Aurelium, like a side quest kind of readathon, a preparation readathon that Book Roast is doing. For that, I haven't really planned the books or the prompts. I have no plans. I'm not that prepared. But I think one of the prompts that I would like to read, if I was going to do this readathon, is a book with the name of a crystal in it. It can be any kind of crystal, but I couldn't find any that I was interested in reading. And if I don't do that, then my character isn't going to have a crystal, and that's going to annoy me. So recommendations, please, in the comments for books with crystal names in their title. Anyway, other books that I also have. A series that I've been really enjoying reading lately is the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, the first book being The Black Prism. I've read the second and third books. I really enjoyed them as well. They keep expanding on this world where there's color-based magic and there's all this political intrigue. This main religious figure, the Black Prism, actually swapped places with his brother without anyone knowing, and there's a bunch of secrets that he is supposed to know but doesn't know, secrets that other people know. It's just a wild time. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm going to pick up the 4th book, Blood Mirror. And to be honest, it's quite possible that I'll pick up the 5th book as well, but we'll see how much self-control I have. Actually, that's probably true for the 4th and the 5th series as well. But as well, I do find that if you read books in a series too close together, sometimes it loses its impact. So I might still try and space them out by a month. And also, I love both these series. So if I finish work at the end of March, wouldn't these be the perfect reward books for April? That might be a good idea. Okay, so other books. A series that I'm still continuing even though it hasn't been my favorite, and that is the Harry Dresden series. So I'm up to book, I forgot the number again, Blood Rights. I'll put the number here. Some number of books into the series. I feel like this series is best described as male fantasy romance. So Harry Dresden, unfortunately, every time he talks about women, he's in love with them, they're beautiful, he needs to protect them, and, oh, we're in a perilous situation, but let me ogle your breasts, that kind of situation, which does annoy me quite a lot, and just his whole attitude, very annoying. But the stories are okay. And I do find I enjoy these better if I go in with the right expectations. So I'm going to try and do that and see how I go with this book. I don't know how long I'm going to continue this series. I know people have said to me, if you're not enjoying it, just stop. But also, all the audiobooks are at the library. I always have a lot of audiobook time, especially with my latest goal where I'm trying to go for an audiobook walk every night. So like getting through the series is not a burden necessarily. And at least if I've read it, I can say I've read it. And then I can have an opinion. So worth it for that maybe. And another series that I'm continuing, look how good I'm doing at my series goal. I am going to try and continue The Wheel of Time. So I'm currently reading The Dragon Reborn, which is the third book in The Wheel of Time. And I think the next one is called The Shadow Rising. So this is a series all about this world where women are in power and they have the ability to use magic. Because in the past, men used to use magic and like unsurprisingly, they fucked it up. And so we said, you guys need to stop that. But also in this world, there's kind of this cycle of prophecy and the belief that this dark one is going to come back into power. And there's a whole bunch of kind of parts of the prophecy that seem to be coming true. And some people are trying to make them come true. Some people are trying to stop them from coming true. We're mainly following this group of young people who are part of this prophecy. Again, some of them are fighting against their place in this prophecy. They're learning about their different magical abilities. It's very slow, but I don't mind it. And again, I'm listening to the audiobooks, even though I have the physical books here, but I'm not up to the ones where I have the physical books. So remains to be seen whether I'll start reading the final ones in physical or whether I'll keep listening to the audiobooks. But regardless, I am going to read book number 4 in March. And that's pretty much all my epic fantasy for the month, but I know that it is quite a lot, which I'm excited about. Other books that I have. Firstly, my hold came through for Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. Now this is one which I've heard a lot of terrible reviews for. It's the sequel to Ready Player 1, which I did really enjoy. Ready Player 1 follows this young boy who is trying to win this prize. So there's this virtual world that everyone kind of logs onto because the real world is so awful. They log onto this virtual world and the owner of the virtual world has died. And in his will, he's kind of left this competition in the virtual world. And if you win, you get to own this virtual world and become incredibly rich and powerful. So we followed the winner of this competition. In the first story, it was really great. Lots of pop culture, I think from like the 80s. And just a fun time. Apparently, book number 2, nothing like that. Main character's story, kind of stupid. But still, my whole came through. I'm trying to complete series. So if I read this, the series will be complete. Because I don't think Ernest Cline would put out another book. Surely not. Or at least not in this series. Hopefully he'll write something else. Something better would be a good idea. Also, I have One of Us is Next by Karen McManus. So this is continuing series, although admittedly, I only started this series last month when I read One of Us is Lying, but I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this, given it's a YA mystery thriller. So I'm interested to see how it will continue. It's one of these ones where it's a little bit weird because the situation from the first book seemed like it was very specific for these teens to have been in the situation where there's a murder. So why would there be another murder? But regardless, I'm still looking forward to it. I don't know anything about the plot of the second book. The first one was basically a group of teens ended up in detention and then one of them died and the rest of them ended up as murder suspects. It was a lot of fun. I really liked the relationships and just the journey these teens went on of learning about themselves and kind of owning up to these secrets that they had. So I'm going to continue that. And lastly, I do have the final book in the Girl from the Other Side series by Nagabe. So this is a graphic novel series all about this young girl who's being looked after by this scary demon creature. It's been a really interesting journey over the 11 books. We've learned a lot about what's going on and I'm interested to see how the series is going to wrap up. So that book is waiting at the library for me now. I need to finish all my other library books so I can return them and get this new one out without feeling guilty about having too many overdue library books. And that is all the books that I'm going to read in March. Normally I would hold up a stack, but actually this is the only physical book. This and the library book are the only physical books that I have for the month. The rest is going to be audiobooks. I'm going to go for so many walks, read so many audiobooks. It's going to be a great time. Hopefully I can get through this as well. Do let me know if you've read any of the books that I'm going to be reading in March, because I would love to know if you think I'm going to like them. And also check in again at the end of the month where I will share my thoughts in my wrap up. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.